Part 2. Secrets of the Desert. Sheila moved deeper into the desert, the soft touch of the sand beneath her feet. The further away she got from the alien ship, the stronger the attraction became. The mysterious light shining before her seemed to hypnotize her. The night sky was like a black blanket of stars. Thanks to Sheila's new powers, she could hear the smallest sounds of the desert, the rustling of the sand, the howling of the wind, even the small steps of a distant gerbil. After hours of walking, Sheila finally approached the source of the light. She was stunned by the sight. Rising from the sand, a huge pyramid emitted a bright column of light from its top into the sky. "This is impossible," Sheila muttered. Even when she was queen of the desert, she had never heard of such a structure. As she got closer to the pyramid, she noticed strange symbols on its surface. These symbols did not resemble the writing of humans, nor of any alien race she knew of. But strangely, Sheila felt that she could read these symbols. When she touched her hand to the pyramid, a sensation like an electric current ran through her whole body. Suddenly, images and sounds began to appear in her mind. It was as if the pyramid was trying to tell her something. In the images, she saw aliens visiting the desert in ancient times. These aliens were the ancestors of Sheila's race. They were beings who could harness the powers of the desert and control the sands and the elements. They had built the pyramid and placed an enormous power source inside. When Sheila opened her eyes, she saw a door opening in the pyramid. She hesitated whether to go in or not. It could be dangerous. But the queen in her burned with the desire to solve this mystery. Taking a deep breath, she stepped inside. The inside of the pyramid was unimaginably vast. The walls were covered with shiny crystals, and the whole place was illuminated with a blue light. In the center stood a giant crystal ball. Inside the sphere, blue and golden energies danced. Sheila realized that this orb was the source of power her ancestors had spoken of. Just then, she heard a voice behind her. "There you are, Sheila." She turned quickly to see Zorn, the leader of the aliens, standing before her. How did you get here?" she asked in surprise. Zorn smiled. "We've been here the whole time, Sheila. We were waiting for you to wake up." Sheila was confused. "I don't understand. Why didn't you tell me the truth?" "Because you had to discover it for yourself," Zorn said. "We are the guardians of your race. Thousands of years ago, when you lost your powers, we built this pyramid to protect you. And now, you, the last queen, are finally awake." Sheila was crushed under the weight of what she was hearing. "So, what happens now?" Before we continue with our video, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and support us. Zorn pointed to the crystal ball. "This contains all the knowledge and power of your race. When you touch it, you will reach your true potential. But be careful, Sheila. With this power comes great responsibility." Sheila hesitated. This was the most important decision of her life. She wanted to regain her power, but what if she couldn't control it? What if she harmed the world? She took a deep breath and made her decision. Slowly, she reached out her hand to the crystal ball. As soon as his fingers touched it, a tremendous energy enveloped his whole body. Thousands of years of knowledge and memories flashed before her eyes. Sheila screamed, alternating between pain and pleasure. Her body was covered in a bright light and she rose into the air. As Zorn and the other aliens watched in amazement, Sheila's body began to change. Moments later, the light went out and Sheila landed on the ground. She looked completely different now. Her skin was golden and her eyes burned with a bright blue light. Her hair rippled like vibrant sands. "How do you feel?" Zorn asked. Sheila opened her eyes and smiled. "I am complete," she said. "Now I know who I am and what you must do." Zorn nodded. "Then your mission begins, Queen of the Desert. You must protect the world and the balance of the universe." Sheila nodded. She was now responsible for the whole world, not just the desert. This was a new beginning. When she left the pyramid, the desert looked different to her. It was no longer just sand, but a living, breathing entity. And Sheila was its protector. He looked up to the sky. She knew there were new adventures waiting for her in the depths of space. But first, she had to protect her world and her people. Sheila, Queen of the Desert, was ready for her new mission. But dark clouds looming on the horizon foreshadowed an impending ordeal. Sheila's new powers and wisdom would soon be put to the ultimate test. Sheila emerged from the pyramid as the sun rose over the horizon. She was full of new powers and knowledge, but she also felt a great responsibility. As the sands of the desert danced beneath her feet, she sensed that something was wrong in the distance. He closed his eyes and concentrated. Thanks to his new abilities, he could perceive the world in a different way. Images from around the world appeared in his mind. He saw forests being destroyed, oceans polluted, and the atmosphere poisoned. "I didn't know it was this bad," he muttered to himself. Zorn approached him. "That's why we needed you to wake up, Sheila. The world is in grave danger." Sheila shook her head. "But I was only the queen of the desert. How can I protect the whole world?" Zorn smiled. "You are no longer just the queen of the desert. You are the master of all the elements. Earth, water, air, and fire, all under your control." Just then, a bright light appeared in the sky. Sheila and Zorn looked up to see a giant spaceship entering the atmosphere. "What is that?" Sheila asked, alarmed. Zorn's face turned serious. "The Kargax Empire, the most ruthless invaders in the galaxy. They have come to take over Earth." Sheila was filled with fear. She had not yet fully mastered her new powers, and now she had to protect the entire planet. "What should I do?" she asked, her voice shaking. "First, calm down," Zorn said. "Your power is linked to your emotions. If you become fearful, you lose control." Sheila took a deep breath and tried to calm down. "So, what do you suggest?" "We need to contact world leaders," Zorn said. "We need to unite against this threat." Sheila nodded. She raised her hands to the sky and concentrated. Suddenly, television and radio broadcasts around the world cut out. Sheila's image and voice echoed on every screen and speaker. "Earth dwellers, I am Sheila, guardian of the elements," she said, her voice strong and determined. "Our planet is in grave danger. Invaders from outer space threaten us. We must unite and protect our world." By the time he finished his message, a worldwide panic had set in. But at the same time, people began to take action. Within hours, leaders from around the world contacted Sheila and Zorn. Some were scared, some were skeptical, but all were ready to help. Together with the leaders, Sheila quickly put together a defense plan. Scientists and engineers from around the world began developing defense systems using Sheila's new powers and alien technology. But time was running out. The ships of the Kargax Empire were fast approaching Earth. Sheila stood in the middle of the desert and closed her eyes. She gathered all her strength and began to create an energy shield that enveloped the world. As the shield rose, Sheila's body was covered in a bright light. When the Kargax ships entered the atmosphere, they crashed into Sheila's shield. There was a huge explosion, and the sky was filled with flames. Sheila tried to hold the shield with all her might, but the Kargax attacks were too powerful. The shield began to crackle. Just then, something began to happen around the world. People began to send their power to Sheila. Millions of people raised their hands to the sky, supporting Sheila. This collective power revitalized Sheila. Her shield grew stronger, and she pushed back the Kargax ships. But the battle was not yet over. The Kargax leader sent a message from his giant mothership. "Inhabitants of Earth," he said, his voice echoing menacingly. "Your resistance is futile. Surrender, or we will destroy your planet." When Sheila heard the message, anger surged inside her. But this time she controlled her anger. "We will never surrender," she replied. This world is our home and we will defend it to the end. The Kargax leader laughed. Then get ready to fight. Sheila turned to Zorn. What do we do now? Zorn answered with a serious expression. We must call the Galactic Council. This is not just Earth's war. It's the war of the entire galaxy. Sheila nodded. A new struggle was beginning, and this time it was not just Earth that was at stake, but the entire galaxy. Sheila, Queen of the Desert and Guardian of the Elements, now held the fate of the galaxy in her hands. As the Kargax ships waited in the sky, Sheila took a deep breath. A long and difficult battle lay ahead. But she was no longer alone. The whole world, and perhaps the whole galaxy, was with her. I'm ready, Sheila said, her eyes shining with determination. Let's do whatever it takes.